So Ninjago Season 3 is just around the corner, and of course we are starting to learn more and more about the season at hand. And well, one of the main things is the presumable return of Morro, because he has officially been released in one of the sets. And this is not just a re-release of his Season 5 look, this is an entirely new design, and I have to say, I absolutely love it. And the set it comes in is also a really good one, and side note, a review of that set is coming later in the week. But this of course has led me to think about the role of Morro in Dragon's Rising Season 3, and how they are going to handle him. And well, in similar vein to my video about Ronin, I'm going to do a little brief overview on Morro, a couple of bits and pieces about him, and then discuss my theory for Season 3. But if you agree or disagree, please let me know. But other than that, who actually is Morro? Well, Morro was the previous Master of Wind before Euphrasia, and he was also the first student of Master Wu, being found when he was a child, and initially speaking, he thought he was going to become the Green Ninja, but the Golden Weapons clearly did not agree, and this sent Morro into a whirlwind to prove that he was the Green Ninja, but unfortunately, this ultimately led to his fate in the Caves of Despair. And well, he was there for presumably a fair bit of time, but because he inevitably passed, unfortunately he did make his way to the Cursed Realm. And well, funnily enough, we don't know the exact reason on what he did to go to the Cursed Realm, but of course there's an implication that between him leaving Wu and him, well, dying, he unfortunately clearly did some things that made him end up in that realm. But that is where he remained for a very long time, until the end of Season 4. Where when Garmadon opened a portal to the Cursed Realm to be able to get rid of Chen and his army, unfortunately Morro was able to find his way back out, and of course that led to the event of possession, where of course Morro possesses Lloyd and goes after the Realm Crystal. But the good thing about it, I mean, I'm not going to explain all of Season 5, I'm hoping you've seen Season 5 to say the least. But, of course, by the end of it, Morro seemingly redeemed himself. He willingly decided to fall to the preeminent even when Wu was trying to help, and he even gave Wu the Realm Crystal. So there was an implication that Morro finally realized that Wu actually cared for him, and he kind of wanted to do better, but unfortunately it was a bit too late. But the next official instance of Morro was in Day of the Departed, where he did possess the statue of him in the Hall of Villainy, and he did help Wu, and he helped the ninja realize where Cole actually was. And, well, Morro clearly did decide to redeem himself, and then he willingly went back to the Departed Realm. And honestly, I really liked Morro in Day of the Departed. It was nice to see that they didn't go back on it, and they actually decided to let him do what he was meant to do, which was inevitably redeem himself and become a student of Wu again. But that is about it in terms of the on-screen appearance of Morro himself, but Morro has definitely made its way into the legacy of Ninjago in a quite substantial way, because Morro is actually mentioned in essentially every single season apart from Hunted, Prime Empire, and Dragon's Rising Season 2. And just to quickly go through how he was, in Skybound, Jay mentions how it was a bad thing that the ninja split up because, well, Lloyd was possessed. In Hands of Time, he appeared as a hallucination. In Sons of Garmadon, Lloyd mentioned him to Harumi in The Quiet One. In March of the Oni and then onwards, he was then in the Ninjago history murals. And then in Dragon's Rising Season 1, where they meet Euphrasia, he was then mentioned then being the previous Master of Wind. And that's the next thing, he is the previous Master of Wind, because, well, when Morro went to the Departed Realm, the elemental power of wind did require a new vessel, and that eventually made its way to Euphrasia, a writer in the Cloud Kingdom, and she is, well, by all accounts, the new Master of Wind, so it definitely is going to be an aspect that they're going to have to cover in Dragon's Rising Season 3. But before I go into just some more general theories, let me actually answer what this video is going out to do, which is, how are they going to handle Morro in Dragon's Rising Season 3? Because, let's be honest, I'm a little bit worried that they're going to revert the redemption arc. Now, of course, I don't know anything, I have no insider knowledge when it comes to LEGO or Ninjago in general, but, of course, anything, take it with a pinch of salt because I may be completely wrong, and if I am, well, come back when Season 3 airs. But my honest prediction is that to an extent, I do think they're going to maintain the redeemed arc that Morro has been going for, and I have two reasons to imply this. The first one being, well, I don't think they want to have room for another villain at the minute because, of course, they're really banking in on the Forbidden Five, on Raz and Aaron now, technically. So I don't know if there's really room for an eighth villain. So I do think Morro is going to remain as an ally to the ninja. And the other thing, I guess, is coming from the actual set itself, because in the set we do see that Morro is fighting with the ninja against the Dragonian warriors. So I do think there's plenty to imply that they're gonna have the redemption arc when it comes to Morro. And I'm going to be honest, it does lead to a lot of amazing opportunities. We can see some amazing scenes between Morro and Euphrasia. We could see Morro really take on the master role, which would be really cool to see. And we could also just see him support the ninja in other ways, maybe even help try to find Wu. It will be a really interesting thing to see happen. But honestly, I'm really excited with the potential of Morro continuing his redemption arc. Now, will they maybe go against it and revert him back to evil? Well, potentially. If they do, I'd be very ashamed. But the thing is, obviously there is space to do it. They could have him team up with Raz, they could have him team up with Aaron, they could have him team up with the Forbidden Five. There's a lot of things that they can do if they didn't want Morro to go through the redemption arc. And while it would be interesting to see, I would personally be a bit gutted because I do really want to see the redemption arc. But of course, there is definitely space if they don't want to do it. I just hope they don't. But the only other thing that comes with it is, how are they going to take Morro from the departed realm and bring him back to be with the ninja or against the ninja? Well, we don't actually know on the exact state when it comes to departed realm because of the merge, and I do actually cover that in a theories video. But I do think to an extent they're going to have Morro pulled out of the departed realm in some way, whether that's through a dimensional quake, whether that's through some sort of portal, whether that's from some unknown reason. Maybe he did just end up outside of the departed realm. We don't really know because, well, the ninja ended up in different realms when the merge occurred, so maybe Morro did as well. But there is a lot of questions as to how he's going to be able to come from the departed realm and how not everyone has been doing the same. But again, it will be curious to see. Personally speaking, I do believe to an extent some sort of weird portal mishap will have happened, and that is how Morro will be able to leave, because they need to give a reason to let Morro out while also not letting everyone else out of the departed realm. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it, but I'm certainly curious to see what they do. But unfortunately, in terms of my Season 3 predictions, that is mostly it. I just think Morro's going to come out of a portal, and hopefully he will continue the redemption arc and teach Euphrasia, while also help the ninja find Wu. And I will say, I do actually have a couple of theories when it comes to Morro, and I do want to know what you guys think of them. The first one, and the one I do really like, is the fact that when Morro did redeem himself at the end of Possession, I think it may have unlocked more of his elemental abilities. And let me quickly explain. Now, of course, we know that Morro did have control over the wind itself, but we do have reason to believe that Morro, in fact, did not know his true potential, he didn't have an elemental dragon, and he also did not know Spinjitzu, and Tommy Andreasen actually does back this up. Tommy Andreasen essentially said that Morro doesn't seem like he had the ability to overcome his obstacles within, and obviously then by extension, his elemental dragon, he wouldn't have been able to conquer his fear, which I think his fear was not being the green ninja, and also then by having Spinjitzu, I just don't think he was able to find that key. So I think to an extent Morro was very much behind in terms of his ninja abilities, but ultimately he still had elemental control, so he probably didn't see value in knowing it. But my personal theory is that when Morro redeemed himself and he realized his personal weaknesses and his shortcomings at the end of Season 5, I think, to an extent, Morro may have unlocked his ability of true potential and maybe even his elemental dragon, because he accepted himself and he accepted his fate. So, I do have reason to believe that Morro may have learned most of the additional abilities. Now, of course, that doesn't really matter anymore because elemental dragons were retconned out of the show, and true potential doesn't really seem to be a major aspect of Ninjago anymore, but maybe he will learn Spinjitzu one day, who knows. But I do believe in context of Season 5, I do think Morro in that moment unlocked his true potential and also unlocked his elemental dragon. But let me know what you do think of this. And also, for note, just in case anyone is unaware, the dragon that Morro can summon in Season 5 when he possessed Lloyd was not a wind dragon. It was a corrupted variant of Lloyd's energy dragon. He was just able to call on it because he had Lloyd's abilities, and we know that because Morro also did use lightning. But my other main theory, and one that's meant to coincide more when it comes to Dragon's Rising, is that, well, it's a two-parter. One being that not only do I think to an extent Morro will become a part of the main cast as of Season 3, I do also believe that Morro is going to be set up as the key to finally finding Wu. And here's why. I do think because of Morro's history with Wu, and of course knowing Wu when he was younger, I reckon to an extent Morro will play some sort of part in finding Wu, basically down to the fact that he will have some form of knowledge on Wu's intentions when it comes to situations like this. And this is mostly based on the idea that, well, Morro, I think if he does go through the redemption arc, I do think we'll see a very wise version of him, and I think we'll see him call upon his previous knowledge of being a student of Wu to be able to eventually help the ninja find him, but I do think he will play a major part in it. And also throughout the season, because he's still a ghost, I do think his unique ability set will also play a factor in finding Wu, whether that's finding information regarding him or being able to find him in places that the ninja cannot. I do think it's one of those things where Morro will play a very unique role in potentially finding the location of him, and I do think that's a very good idea, to be honest with you. Now, of course, this does also rely on the idea that they are going to be bringing back Wu. I know a lot of people think that they may not, but personally, I do think they will be, because, of course, well, they were originally intended on having him die in Crystallize when fighting the Overlord, but of course they had him remain. So for them to just get rid of him the next season on, personally I just think that's very unlikely, and I just don't think they're ready to get rid of Wu yet. And of course he does now have an official Dragon's Rising minifigure, so I do think we are going to be seeing Wu back, and I do just think Morro is going to play an aspect in it. But those are my theories when it comes to Morro, and let me know what you do think of them. But that is my outlook on Morro and his place in the show and where he may be in the future. And like I said in the start of the video, please let me know what you think when it comes to Morro. And also, if you have any other characters that you want me to look into like this. But that is about it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Take care. Okay, bye.